Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Velocity Kinetics and the Swacecast. Music's just about to play. Red versus Blue soundtrack. Shame what happened to Rooster Teeth, but all good things unfortunately have to come to an end. Not that that's the theme of this Swacecast at all. Well, I suppose something coming to an end, but not anything of that nature. So, as we're filming this is Sunday the 27th of October. Excuse me. Sunday 27th of October, day the clocks have gone back. Cyclist is just letting me by, he's come to a stop. It's Sunday the 27th of October, clocks have just gone back, Sarah's come off a night shift. What the hell is all this traffic doing? Has everyone forgotten they're supposed to be somewhere or something? Is there roadworks further up there? Christ on a bicycle. Don't know what they're doing. Sarah's sleeping off night shift. That's kind of why I'm filming this now, to be honest, because she's sleeping, and whilst she's a very heavy sleeper, and I can attest to someone who used to work nights as well, you can fall asleep ridiculously hard after a night shift if you're that tired. You could need to wake up at 1 o'clock for £1 million check. You won't do it because you need your sleep. But there we are. So, what am I wanting to talk about today? Well, a couple of things. One, a general update. So, when we still lived in our old house, I did a video looking through different types of cars for my dad, because a few weeks earlier he'd given me an indication that the Ford Cougar he had, Cougar Vignale, that it was on borrowed time. He wanted it gone, it was getting too big, too thirsty, and so on. Now, the Cougar, one thing I will say for me dad, apart from the two Cougars, which I just don't like SUVs, they could have been XC60s, and I do love my Volvos, I wouldn't have liked them very much at all. But for the most part, he's always had a good choice of car. Whilst he's not a petrol head in the same way I am, he's not exactly ignorant to what's on the market. Shall we put it that way? And at the time, I'd gone through looking at different things for him, trying to work out what he wanted, because he had his needs. So he needed a power memory moving seat, because whereas you and I, assuming you've not got a spinal injury, you and I, we can tolerate for the most part sliding back and forth on the runners on a manual seat, whereas someone who's got a spinal injury can't tolerate that all the time. So it would be nicely in position for him. He needed his heated seat, he needed a heated steering wheel, heated windscreen, reversing camera and parking sensors. They were basically the big asks. Electric tailgate depending on the size of the vehicle as well. And I went to work on it. And at the time, if I remember the video correctly, I believe my choice at the time was a BMW 2 Series, or was it an X2? No, it was a 2 Series, and it was I think they call it the Active Tourer, the sort of the people carrier-ish looking vehicle. I actually thought it was an okay looking car for what it was, but that was the choice I had at the time. Since then, obviously, back then interest rates, we didn't know what was going to happen, no one knew what was going to happen, things went sideways, car market went mental, you get the drift. But again, my brother and myself, I didn't like how big that Cougar was. That Cougar would sometimes barely do 20 miles a week, probably why it was so thirsty. Apparently the 1.5 turbo 4-pot engines have also not done very well. I believe they're also caught up in the EcoBoost bore score scandal. Or is it scandal, technical flaw? I'm not sure what it is, but I believe they're caught up in it. His car used to drink fuel. And we're not talking about it just being, it's listed as 25 miles per gallon, I'm getting 20, not ideal. It would drink it. He once told me that he was overtaking a car overtaking a slow-moving car in it, and he wasn't like he was punching it, going super, maxing out the RPMs or anything. He just let the automatic do its thing. That was the other criteria he had as well. It had to be an automatic. And he said you could see the fuel needle dropping with the way it was whacking in fuel, and that was just crazy to me that was happening. I can't say I'm sorry to see his Cougar go, but he's got something else now. Now, I redid everything, re-looked around, see what we could get, tried to find different things that wouldn't break the bank, because obviously loads of brands put the prices up. Like, for instance, I'm following a 530D now, thinking of the BMW. Tried to get him to go have another look at an X1 and X2, but the prices were just too insane. Skoda Kamiq came to the top of the pile. When Sarah and I were looking at Kodiaqs, I asked about Kamiqs, and apparently, according to Connor, the guy I'd been dealing with at Skoda, they came with could come with all the gear he wanted, but it would not be. If you wanted a used one on XDem, it would be very unlikely that they would have one. They did exist, but they were rarer than rocking horse shit. So it would have to be a new purchase. But another brand caught my eye, one I hadn't thought of. And when I was doing all this looking around for Dad, I've been to Hyundai, been to Mazda, been to Kia, been to Honda, been to Suzuki to see if the new S-Crosses were changing. I've been to Mercedes, Volkswagen, BMW, Audi. I'd been to Peugeot, I'd been to Renault, I've basically been to every single new car dealer around Bury St Edmunds and within sort of a 10-15 mile radius, which I don't think actually there is any, but there are a couple of sort of relatively new car specialists. No, I didn't. I looked at Cambridge, actually. That's what I did. I was in Cambridge, but I was also looking for me at that point. But nonetheless, did all the looking. And where I kept recommending him to go to was Kia, because the Niro, which is the car I recommended to him, the Niro, when I've seen them around, they're very popular. I see a lot of them in blue badge bays. Actually, it was Subaru that was almost within 10-15 miles. That was the one. But anyway, I'd seen a lot of them in blue badge bays, as I had the Subarus, which is why I'd recommended them. So whether they were popular on the Motability scheme or they were just a good thing to buy, it's like there's a reason why I'm seeing so many parked in blue badge bays, disabled bays, whatever word you want to enable. He had a look at one. The salesman was a bit pushy. No, I don't want to do that. The salesman was a bit pushy. This is at the dealership that was local to my parents, because the other thing is, with my dad having a Ford, there's no Ford dealer where they live in Thetford anymore. It is actually now a Kia dealership, hence why I sort of thought Kia. So it was important to have a dealer kind of local, even if it meant coming to Bury St Edmunds. It's only about half-hour drive if the traffic's not in your favour. 20 minutes if every traffic light, every roundabout is in your favour, and you don't delay in getting up to speed either. The dealer in Thetford wasn't very good, very pushy, got arsey with me dad over something. Now obviously, because I wasn't part of that, I couldn't tell you what they got arsey over. So whether it was a provoked a response, don't know. But I'm going to trust what my dad said. I know he's a difficult person to please when it comes to buying new cars, but I'm going to trust him on that, because my mum didn't disagree with what he was saying. So they went to the Kia in Bury St Edmunds, and lo and behold, he's actually now replaced it with a Kia Niro, and he's very happy with it. He's done more miles in it in about 3 weeks. He's done more miles in it than his Cougar in about 3 months. But what is so fantastic about that, for me at least, and I suppose I'm not wanting to classify this as what the people call inspiration porn, I think is what they call it. It's not a story of inspiration and things like that. well, not in the social media definition of inspiration, but it's sort of one of those things like, holy crap, you wouldn't think for some people that a car can be that much of a limiting factor. And it shows that if you get someone, pay attention to what someone needs and wants out of a car, it can enable them to do so much. Like my parents, when we were little, we used to go to a place called Castleacre near Swaffham, because it wasn't a huge trek from Thetford, but it wasn't exactly a short journey either. But my dad, to the best of my memory, he hadn't been that direction since he got his first V40, and I'm sure the V40 he got was 2002 52 plate. It was that long ago, or 2013. It was a very long time ago. I think 2002, because the 940 we had was about 5-ish years old at that point, which is what the V40 was replacing. And the fact that then in another V40, 3 V70s, an XC70 and 2 Cougars later, that he hadn't, to the best that anyone can remember, he hadn't been that direction just for a wander, change of scenery. Well, I say a wander, you can't walk very far, but you know what I mean, change of scenery. It's amazing that has enabled him just to, I suppose it sounds dramatic to say just to live, but in many ways, yes, it's enabling him to have a life again. It's all about, in conversations I've had with him about when he's talked more frankly about his disability, it's not the disability that gets him as such, it's the lack of choice. And the car is giving him, chucking this up on the road, this new car is giving him some choice in the matter as to what he wants to do. And that, in my opinion, is fantastic. I'll wander through here today, I think. Whilst there might be churchy things going on and I don't want to be seen near them. Let's see if the Nero is out and about today, because he might be doing a service in Wesley. Although I don't see, I think he was meant to have done it last week. But they do their services in a weird order here, as in sometimes they have 2 or 3 on the bounce and then they don't have any for a while. I don't know, it's something to do with them being in it. I think they're in an interregnum at the moment, so who knows. But anyway, it's given him some choice in what he wants to do. Choice in whether he wishes to go places or not. It's sort of it's bizarre in the way it sort of rejuvenated him. Like the other day, my mum and dad went to see my brother for a bit, as they're entitled to do, and then they came and saw Sarah and myself on the way back. Now, granted, we're not exactly out the way from where my brother lives. We're not miles and miles out the way at all. But the fact that they came out and saw us for a bit was nice, and showed me the car. Would I want one for myself? I think it falls under that category of do I want it for me? No, I don't want it for myself. I'll happily drive it if my dad, say for instance, needed the car taken for a service. I'd happily take it in for him. If Sarah decided actually I'd like a Nero and she'd like it for herself, so I wouldn't be driving it that often, of course, more than happily. I just don't want one for myself. But that's yeah. I'm just blown away by how much more it's enabling him to just get out and choose to do. And the Neros are good. The thing is, with my dad's condition, he's sort of almost needing like an SUV, which is kind of why I went for the Cougar, because he needs something a bit lifted. But there's lifted and there's lifted. And then a lot of the big SUVs that might have the right sort of ground clearance for him, that require him to bend the least and things, they're just big. And it's hard for me to say this, but it's even harder to see. With my dad's condition, he's lost some height anyway, but because he's nearly 70, is he 69 next year? Yeah, I think he's 69 in April next year. As anyone who's got parents who are aging, my parents have shrunk, and whilst I've grown, not just vertically, I have also unfortunately grown horizontally. It's sort of one of those, oh God, that's just, you know, it's silly. My aunt, who actually I'm not going to see her today. I just happen to be wandering around this direction whilst I sort of free talk. She's shrunk a lot as well, and as has my uncle. And my uncle was knocking on the doors 6 foot. He was built like a brick shithouse back when I was little. And that's not just little children memory of someone thinking, oh no, that's just how you remember him. Like, no, pictures, he was a brick shithouse. So yeah, it's fantastic as to what it's done. He hasn't said how much it's knocked him back. I'm assuming it's in the region of 30 to 35, which is far too much for a Nero, but that's what the prices are at the moment. I'm hoping, and people keep going, why you keep talking about interest rates and car prices? Car prices went up when interest rates went up, as did all the finance around it. Whether you were going to buy a shitbox on a credit card rates went up. But you're going to do it on a personal loan rates went up. Car finance rates through PCP, HP, what have you, they all went up in line with the base rate increases, which in turn also meant that prices went up because people couldn't afford them, so they weren't selling as many, didn't make as many, they were harder to come by. Used cars were becoming the default choice for a lot of people. So, getting a bit hot with that on. Weather in the UK at the moment is mental. It's a lovely sunny day. Not belittling that at all, because I was pissing it down yesterday when I was aerating my lawn. But I wish it would make its mind up. You're in the sun, it's hot. Then the wind blows, it's cold. Then it goes a bit grey. But it's muggy. Then it's muggy, cold, and wet. And it's just, I can't deal with it. Make your fucking mind up is my sort of what I'm beginning to think. Just, I don't care what you want to do, just pick one. But anyway, because all those everything went up, and some of it is profiteering in its simplest form. And let's not hide behind it. It was profiteering for a lot of places, because loads of companies through COVID and the subsequent economic mess up went from recording insane profits to unbelievably insane profits. I mean, a good example are most food shops. Tesco, Asda, they went from having tens of millions, hundreds of millions in profit to raking in billions. Some of that is Brexit related. I have no doubt about it, and let's not beat about the bush. Brexit has fucked certain things up on that front, including getting cars into the UK. Ow, damn it. Keep banging my head on that, because Sarah has the seat high, and to minimise the adjustment of the seat, I tend to keep it high as well now, but it's a bit high for my liking. So this talk about car prices going up, it's not entirely unrelated to what I want to then go on to. What the hell? Sorry, the revs on the car picked up for no reason, despite being on throttle. We weren't going downhill either. It's come about because Sarah and I are looking for another car. This is where there's sort of all this talk and looking and conversation and thoughts are coming from. Now, don't spin. There we go. So I'm trying not to spin up the wheels because I know I need new tyres soon, and I'm just trying to make them last a bit longer, as much as I can. Where was I? Yes, so Sarah and I are looking for a second car. Why are we looking for a second car? She's passed a driving test. Fantastic. But it's become apparent that next year she's meant to be going away with her siblings for a little holiday, and that's fantastic, but when she's going away she's leaving me without a car because she's going to drive. Not a problem about her taking the Swace or whatever the main car is at that point if money has suddenly become our friend, but I'm aware I've then got no wheels. I can't, if I've got hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, places I want to go, friends I want to see, I'm either entirely at the mercy of the bus, which at times recently, I mean, I don't like taking the bus as it is. I'll be honest, I can't read a bus timetable. Some of it is because I just can't read a bus timetable. Have to Googleize that on the internet machine, perhaps. But yeah, some of it is that, and some of it is, well, but if I've got jobs to do, like when she's away, there are things I'd want to get done, such as perhaps paint the hallway, because it's looking a bit tired now. And I want to have the house looking tidy and nice, and again, as a child it used to get on my nerves, my dad decorating as often as he did, but he's not wrong. You need to do it before it looks bad. And the reason why you need to do it before it looks bad is it's actually a fraction of the work. If you think about it, if you paint your house every 4 or 5 years, you haven't then got paint over 10, 15, 20 years of use and abuse. There's a lot of people out on bikes today, need to keep an eye out for that. But, you know, we've realised that that's going to severely hinder me. She wants to potentially start driving to work, even just on the weekend, so I don't have to get up to take her to work and things. I probably would still be up anyway, but I don't have to do that. But again, on the weekend, a Sunday is not too much of a problem. If I want to go get something from a shop, which will typically only be my lunch, I can walk. It's a 6 mile round trip, about an hour or more each way, but I haven't got anything to do on a Sunday, so I could do it. And it's good exercise, but it also means that I can't go to the gym myself. I can't catch up with any friends who might find themselves free. I keep trying to catch up with my friend Laura it's normally call it a mocha and a moan, or a whiskey and a whinge, or a lamenting latte, cappuccino and crap talk. You know, it's fun stuff. But likewise, if my brother needs help with anything, I can't help him when the car's not there. And Sarah, like I say, wants to consider starting to take the car on the weekend, and I don't mind. She needs to drive, she needs to learn, she needs to practice, and the only way she's going to do it is by taking the car. The problem we've got is, because I work from home, I don't need a second car quite to the same degree as if I didn't work from home. But I've also got to factor in that potentially we might get you've got to go back to the office command. I'm not going to. I'm going to stick my heels in and say, well, I haven't got an office near me, and if you think I'm commuting 2 hours a day one way to London, if all the trains are on time, you've got another thing coming. That's just 2 hours from my house to getting off at Liverpool Street. Never mind that I think it's only a 10-minute walk to the office, but I then still got to get out the train station and then get to the office. And I've got to get from home to the train station. I'm not spending 10 quid a day. I'm not spending 10 quid one way on a taxi, and I'm not being left at the mercy of the bus. So I need something. I believe the way we're going to go is Sarah's gonna take on Mr. Swacey, and I'm gonna get something for me. But we need a car that we're also happy to put children in, because if children suddenly happen, I'm not wanting to have a car that I've bought and I'm not happy putting children in. The other criteria is it's got to be able to cope with a journey up to Newcastle if push came to shove. Which, when you start adding all those caveats and conditions in, you're suddenly actually really restricting what sort of car you could get. So I'm open to most. C-Max should have been a bit further over. I'm open to most vehicles, to be honest. We had a quick look on Auto Trader because Sarah and I want to test drive something, but I don't want to do it. I haven't got the money to buy it from a private dealer, as a private sale. This is where the comment about not being money and myself not being friends sort of comes in. Now I can't tell you why. Is it genetics? Is it just bad luck? I don't know. People might think it's weird for someone who works for a bank to not be very good with money, and it's not a case of I'm not very good with money, but money and I just don't seem able to get along. And I'm not trying to justify any bad money habits I may have or anything, but every time I just eternally cannot seem to get out of a cycle of, no matter how hard I've tried so far, I can't seem to break the cycle of, well, this has happened, right, that's my savings robbed, to pay for all that to avoid putting on a credit card. Or something else has come up and I haven't got the savings, I'm going to have to put that on the credit card. Now money's a bit tight, so what savings I've got, I'm going to have to rob Pete to pay Paul. And you see where everything is sort of going. It's not ideal any stretch of the imagination. We did come ridiculously close yesterday, actually. The sort of cars Sarah would like, she would actually be very open to a Volvo. She'd actually quite like a Volvo, as would I. Shift, come on. Stupid thing. As would I, but at the price bracket we're looking at, which is around about the £2,000 to £4,000 mark, Volvos of that age, especially if they're high mileage, are starting to become quite expensive burdens, no matter how many Ford or Peugeot parts are still on them. Volvo exhausts are very expensive. If the exhaust is gone, Volvo servicing, if you want it done main dealer, very expensive. The tyres, very expensive. You also don't know how well it's been looked after in the time it's been had, so whether it's had a good MOT history, full service history, general faults, recalls, you name it. So we had a look to see what we could get. Now Sarah did a random browse and she saw an S40 she actually quite liked. The problem is the S40 is down in London, so it's not like it's a quick toddle out somewhere, seeing something we like, turning around and coming home. It's quite the commitment to get to where it is. I think it's somewhere near Uxbridge, where she says it's the far side of Uxbridge, so actually it's about another 5+ miles over where Auto Trader says it actually is. Which is again a bit of a problem. But we saw in Colchester there was a V40. It was a D3. We were looking at about £45 a month in the insurance, and that's the problem. Things are so tight at the moment that I can't quite justify the £45 a month at the moment. I might be able to free it up from somewhere, but the fact I can't work it out would suggest it's not there. Well, there's no would suggest. It's not there at all. We then found an S60 at the same place in Colchester. Now, the S60 was a 60 plate, but it had a power memory seat. It was a 163 D3 2-litre diesel. So I suppose for me it's quite a lot of car just to sit there and not do an awful lot. But the fact it's diesel, I probably would not need to fill it up that often. It's an S60, so I could take it all the way up to Newcastle and back, should it be required. And it's plenty big enough for whatever I want to do. And I'd be quite happy to put a child in there, whether it's my nephew or a friend's child, or hopefully eventually mine and Sarah's. I contacted them to see if they were free for a test drive and whether it was still available. They'd sold it about an hour before my email. The insurance was a bit better on it. That was a shade under 3,000. That S60 was 299.5. But it's the way we'd have to afford it. Now, Tesco have recently been quite generous, and they've given me quite a large credit limit on one of my credit cards. It's not got a very big balance on it at all. It's only got it's under 100. But this is where the bank worker part of me is going, this is not a good idea, is to buy the car on the credit card. But the other part of me is going, well, if I buy the car on the credit card, yes, I've got an extra expense for a brief period. But when I then do I'm going to have to take out a loan to do the balloon payment on this, unless suddenly car prices become more favourable and I can afford to replace this. That is realistically the option I'm going to be faced with. And this will need about 12,000 to clear it, plus whatever's outstanding on the credit card. So if I did the loan for about 14,000, I'll be paying, at least based on today's interest rates, I think it was with MBNA, if I took out a loan for that much, I'd be paying about the same as I'm currently paying for this car. So no change on that expense front, and then I'd have two cars. But when I looked at that S60's MOT history, it routinely failed on tyres, or had advisories on tyres. That said though, good that it doesn't got ball joints or patina, rusting, whatever you want to call it. Appears to be well looked after for the most part. It's one of these things. It's like, oh God, we've got to do it somehow. We've got to get another car. We need an additional one. There's no ifs, no buts, no coconuts, in the words of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. We do need one. That's just a fact of life, unfortunately. How we're going to do it, I don't know. There are also some good price Ford Focuses out there. But the other thing is, we're looking at what you would describe as high mileage heroes. Now, I can give them a good one last hurrah. And that is something, as much as I have complained about Auto Alex at times in my own rants, he is not wrong. Buy a high mileage hero, give him a final lease of life, and then whether you sink your money into it and keep it going, or whether you say, right, toodaloo friend, you've served me well. There are many options. The thing is, when you're looking at cars over 100,000, you've got to make sure that they've been serviced properly. Timing belts have been done, or chains have been done. Did I say cam belts? Cam belts, if I haven't said it. There are a number of things on cars as they get older that need to be done, and by certain mileage they have to be done. The other problem is any problem could become a terminal problem. But I think the way we're considering working it is she took out a loan earlier this year to tidy up some of our finances. I'll then take out a loan next year to pay off this, and then we'll just keep trading, basically keep trading loans and things for any refinancing. And I suppose what will happen is we'll end up buying each other's cars. So when I take out a loan, it'll be to buy whatever she wants. She'll take out a loan to buy whatever I want. And I suppose that's how it'll be traded off until we can sort of balance it back round to what we want. The plus point, though, is if we can get that all to work, the plus point is whoever has the if we just use the S60 as the example, saying I bought it. If I'd bought the S60, then when it comes time for me to replace it for something I want, I've got something to trade in. I've got something to work with. I'm not going in. Even if the car's only worth 500 quid. Guess what? That's 500 quid I haven't got to muster up, borrow, dig into my own savings for, you name it. I haven't got to find that 500 in that hypothetical scenario. There was a good-looking Renault Megane estate that caught my eye, but it's a 2018 plate with about 120. It was a bit less than. I'm going to round it up to 120,000 because I know it wasn't over 120,000 miles on it. But it was about according to Auto Trader, it was 70,000 over average for its age, and that was just mental to me. Sort of, holy crap. But if it's done that sort of mileage, it should have been well looked after. Especially if it's a 2018 model. They're a bit newer. The Renault parts would have been a bit better, but ultimately, it is an old French car. And old French cars are either built like brick shithouses, or they falter at the first sign of anything difficult. So it's a toughie. I wouldn't mind. To be honest, I think like a lot of people, Sarah and I just want to be able to. She and I just want to get to a point financially where we can go, I fancy a new car. If you can, do you think? What do you think I should get? You know, where a new car can just be gotten, whether I've had the car for 2 years or whether I've had it for 10. You know. Or just going on holiday can be. I don't want. Yes, everyone wants to have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in the bank, but realistically, I just want to be able to do things I want without having to think that much about it. And I do just want to be able to change car when I want. I do want to be able to just buy what I want. I do want to be able to go new if I want new, or used if that's the way I'm wanting to go. I'm thinking Sarah would like a Ford Focus as well, and the other problem is, again, as I mentioned at the start with my dad's Cougar and the bore score, some of those older EcoBoost engines are suffering quite terribly, apparently, with bore score. Which is a shame, because those little 3-pot engines are insane. The other thing is, I've thought, do I just buy another Baleno? But I can't get a Baleno in my price range. You can get a Kizashi, which I'd be nervous about having, because I've only ever seen 2. I believe they're imports. But Sarah and I have also said that if we can avoid it, we don't want 2 of the same brand on the driveway, unless we're given an amazing deal. I saw for years, my parents loved Volvo, and don't get me wrong, if you find a brand you like, you're always going to buy that brand. But there came a point where, because my dad was so blinkered on Volvo, they missed out on potentially good Ford Focus, Ford Mondeo, Kia deals, even. So, yeah. We don't particularly want 2 of the same brand. How serious we are about another car is another question altogether, because with the S60 I saw, it had an advisory on tread depth. So if I'd bought that S60 and it hadn't sold, first thing I'd have had to have done, the first thing I would have had to have done would have been to, oh God, Jesus Christ. No, I haven't got, sorry, this XC60 pulled out ahead of me, having been dealt with by a copper, and I'm hoping I haven't intercepted where I shouldn't have intercepted, but they didn't really look on their way out. But yeah, just don't know. Really unsure what to do. It doesn't change what cars I would like to own, what I don't want to own. Doesn't change the fact that my preference will always be for a new car. Doesn't change the fact that I'm not overly sold on going electric. And the problem I would have is because some days I don't need to go anywhere, the battery would get cold, so it wouldn't hold its charge. And then I'm buggered up on the range side of things. So whatever I buy, I will say this again, using that S60 as a hypothetical. If I could afford that S60 or had been able to buy it, rest assured it would have gone straight to a main dealer to make sure everything was all in order with it. I wouldn't have just bought it and gone blindly. I wouldn't have just bought it and blindly just run it. It would have been properly serviced. It would have had new tyres, or at least if it would have at least had a good check over, because it would be a case like, I don't know what this history is. The problem is, and my dad's right on this one, as was my mum. When it comes to, you might not, no matter how much spare money you've got, whether you've got a lot or a little, when you start introducing a second vehicle into the equations, suddenly you've got 4 tanks of petrol, not 2, 4 tanks of fuel to think about. You've not got one service, you've got 2 services to think about, maybe more if one car's used a lot, so you might go from having to worry about 1 service a year to 3 if one's really high mileage or used a lot. You might have to worry suddenly about you've not just got 2 tyres to replace, you potentially you've got between 4 and 8 tyres to replace, depending on what sort of year you've had. If luck is really not on your side, you've not got 1 bumper you've scraped and damaged, you've got 2 bumpers you've scraped and damaged. And if luck is really not on your side, it's not just 1 car you've written off 2. It's mental. We'll see what we can do. Whatever I get, I'm going to attempt to give it a review, because I do like doing those videos. Like I say, as I said in many of these, just for my own pleasure and entertainment. I'm not bothered whether they get the views or not. It'd just be nice to get some of that. What's infuriating, my brother showed me, no, it wasn't my brother, who the hell was it? Can't remember. Someone showed me, asked me something on the Velocity Kinetics video, like, are you making good YouTube money now? I'm like, what? No, not even close to making YouTube money. YouTube had stuck adverts in so many times in the Swacecast. It's like, are you kidding me? And it was a Swacecast that had done 100 views or so, and it was very much a case like, so even that probably wouldn't have even been 10 quid, not even that, depending on where the adverts were paid from and what the paper advert is. Say a £5. So how many views the video's got? So what, I couldn't have even got a £5, £10 out of it. But YouTube can pocket all that, or Google, whoever it is, pockets all that money. That's just not on. But anyway, thank you for watching and listening to this today. if you like what we do, feel free to buy me a coffee. Go to www.buymeacoffee.com/customer service expert. That's not spaced or underscored, that's just what it is. Or if you want to donate on a one-off basis, go to paypal.me/velocitykinetics and just donate what you want. Anything would be far appreciated, massively appreciated. Who's that? Oh, it's Smokey. There's a black cat that likes to hop into my car. He's just wandering up behind it. Anyway, I've gonna go let George and Izzy out for a bit, and I think Sarah's sleeping for another hour or so. Drive safe. Look after yourselves. Future content. We've got some stuff going on at the moment that might impact my ability to actually put anything out. So I'm just going to record these when I can, put them out when I can, because it's for my own personal mental health, I suppose you could argue. That's why I do it. But look after yourselves, and we'll see you next time.